Hello, and welcome to Cy's Green Scene. I'm Cy Lewis, your host. I'd like to welcome our guest today, Mr. Ramon Hayes from Eco Energy Solutions. Mr. Hayes is going to be talking about what we're doing in energy efficiency. So as you'll remember from our last show, and if you have not seen our last show, please tune in. You can go to cable TVs, CAN TVs, channel 21, or on YouTube. So what I'd like to start out with is telling you a little bit about Mr. Hayes. Mr. Hayes has been in the energy field for more than 13 years. He's quite the gentleman in this field. So what I'd like to ask you, Mr. Hayes, is what made you choose the energy efficiency space?
First, let me thank you for inviting me. I appreciate the invite. Glad to be here. And it's really interesting how I got into the energy efficiency space. I was looking for a business to get into that had something to do with saving the earth and also making money. And after doing extensive research, which anybody should do in going into a new business, is I stumbled on the fact that the energy efficiency business was born out of the Energy Independence and Security Act of around 2007. And the reason for that is that, you know, we as citizens in America are up against really serious threats from some of our enemies that want to do bad things to our energy infrastructure and water and all kinds of things. So the energy efficiency field addresses that by trying to get off of, well, like the act says, have energy independence, to get off of fossil fuels and to use more renewable energies. So, and then one of the things that, you know, I also found is that there was a really good way to get into it was through LED lighting. So I learned as much as I could about LED lighting, which, you know, put me squarely into the energy efficiency field. So basically that's it.
So if I can ask you, was it difficult starting an energy business?
No, it wasn't more difficult than starting any business. So it was just a matter of starting the business up and, you know, doing the housekeeping that you have to do to start any business. However, one of the things about the energy efficiency business or LED lighting is that you're always, when I got in, there were rapid changes regularly. So even then and even now, you know, you're always studying to keep up. Because, I mean, as you know, anything that has to do with technology these days moves very quickly, and you have to keep abreast of what's going on.
I see. So can you explain to the audience the current landscape of the green scene in Illinois at this time?
Well, the current landscape in Illinois is very interesting and fertile. There are just so many opportunities to get into the space and really prosper. There's a great need for installers or technicians on the lower levels across the board, and that includes electricians, HVAC people, which HVAC is very big in the residential side of energy efficiency. You know, you've also got weatherization people. I mean, it's so vast, and also one of the areas in Illinois that has not really shown its ability to be what it's going to be is solar.
I see.
Solar is, I mean, I don't even want to say it's going to be huge. It is huge.
Yes.
It's just that I think that we've had some regulatory issues in that area that's kind of slowed things down. But of course, it's like with anything, you know, we'll get over that. We'll navigate through that.
So when you speak of regulatory issues, would that have anything to do with the CEJA and FEJA bills?
Well, actually, CEJA and FEJA has done all they can to remove a lot of the impediments to getting into this business or the energy efficiency space. So CEJA and FEJA, which I'll speak about more a little bit later, but it's done more to help the situation than to hurt it. But you know, whatever the regulatory issues are, they're being worked through day by day because it's just inevitable. Illinois has taken a market approach to expanding solar, as opposed to California, who's taken a legislative approach.
Yes.
They've pretty much legislated in that, you know, you have to have solar on houses now. Illinois is allowing the market to drive the industry. And in a short amount of time, you'll see that. I think just overall, the real estate market is just slow. But as we go forward, pretty soon in Illinois, if, like California has legislated it, I think the market will drive the fact that if you don't have solar on a house, no one will probably want to buy your house.
Right.
So we're being driven in that direction, but it's, you know, it's taking its own time. But it's just a very fertile place. And another area is EVs. Now the manufacturers, of course, they're having their own problems with the EVs, but we're going to see EVs increase in Illinois because it's also market driven, and there's all kinds of
So
incentives.
EVs refer to electric vehicles.
Electric vehicles.
And some of the issues that electric vehicles had in Chicago basically were around Tesla when we had the cold weather and the batteries didn't charge and the charging stations didn't work. And so just so the audience knows, there are a multitude of car companies that are producing electric vehicles that have not had this difficulty. So it's been something that's been centered around Teslas and their specific copyright version of their battery. So it's really important to look into what car companies are offering EVs. And then in relationship to solar, we are going to have a guest on coming soon that's going to speak to solar in Illinois. We want to know, is solar free, as we see advertised so very often in every place from the Walmart and the Sam's Club to Facebook. So we want the real truth on those things. Another thing that you mentioned that I found very interesting is the types of jobs that are available for people in their energy field. And you mentioned electricians and HVAC. But I was also made aware that there are some relatively brief workforce training programs where you don't have to be an electrician to do energy retrofits and things like that, or even the installation of EV stations. So if you could just tell me a little bit about what type of training people need to have to do your type of work.
Well, to install lighting, people can be trained to be electrical technicians, which is short of being an electrician. And then, of course, we always suggest that you take your training above and beyond that, working toward being a full-fledged electrician. Or if you're trained as an HVAC technician, that can be trained in a training program that is not as extensive as someone who is trying to become an HVAC contractor. That's something that they can work on their own to elevate their position in HVAC as well as energy efficiency. So yeah, and that's the good thing actually about CEJA and FEJA, because what it's done is created a fertile ground for people to have training programs to get more people into this space, and then that's people that's across the board. So yeah, I think now you would be able to find more training programs than you have ever before in the last few years, because things have really grown to that point based on the CEJA and FEJA legislation.
So the CEJA and FEJA bills are very long and extensive bills, and you'll be able to find further information about the CEJA and FEJA bills at sizegreenScene@gmail.com or on our website, sizegreenScene.com. So it's really important to understand some of these acronyms. But what I'd really like to ask you is, with your 13 years of experience in the energy efficiency business, can you tell us what the most significant event that happened within that time was?
Well, here we go. We get back to CEJA and FEJA. In my 13 years, there is no bigger event that happened than the passing of FEJA first and then CEJA, which is the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act. FEJA at first, I think, well, after FEJA, that's what really catapulted me into the energy efficiency space where, I didn't just survive, I thrived. Because all of the money that was being given to DCEO, the Department of, what is that?
Energy, the Department of Energy, and I actually...
It's an Illinois division that they got some of the money before to do energy efficiency projects. As a matter of fact, I did a project with them. I did a street lighting project for a municipality. Now all of that money is given to ComEd, and what it did is it allowed contractors to focus on just being signed up with ComEd and the different programs that they had. And by the way, DCEO is the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity.
There you go.
But it allowed contractors to focus just on ComEd, and ComEd was able to take those monies and really expand their programs to the point where being a contractor in those programs really meant something. I mean, it really gave you an opportunity that if you were in it and you were performing in it, you were making great amounts of money. FEJA finally came along afterwards, and
which is the Federal Energy Jobs Act, correct?
Yeah, it's actually the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act.
Okay.
But one of the most important things that it did is it further legislated that more people of color were included in these programs and under legislation, not just we really want to do this and we're going to do this. No, this created legislation to make sure that happened. And a few of the things that CEJA actually did is it incentivized renewable energy development. It accelerates electric vehicle adoption. It creates a statewide clean energy program. and it equitably supports communities to really be involved in the energy efficiency space. More money under CEJA is being poured into programs, more training, more projects are being done. Me as a contractor, I do a lot more business in the city because of that.
I see.
So we're seeing it actually happening every day.
Well, I know you mentioned ComEd, and I saw an article about you going through a training program with ComEd. Is that correct?
Yes, I think 3 or 4 years ago, I actually went through. ComEd has a diverse incubator training for contractors, and they've had it now for the last at least 3 or 4 years. I think I was in the first one, and once I graduated, that's what really got me into some of the programs that before I couldn't get into.
Would you suggest that program for others?
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. If a person is a contractor that wants to get into the energy efficiency space with ComEd to actually operate, with them, through them, that would be the best place to get in. Now, also, they give good training, but it's really good also to maybe get with a contractor that's already in the business to actually further your knowledge to be able to hit the ground running so that you can, because it's really,
It's
the
fast
bottom line,
paced.
the bottom line is you want to make money in these programs.
And it's fast paced. It's a fast
It
paced.
really is. It really is. It's very fast paced. There's a lot of things that it would be better for you to know sooner than later.
So one of the things that the communities have been really concerned about is who would be eligible for these type of programs: men, women, youth, returning citizens. Let's see, our ex-military. Are these people all eligible to work in this space?
I'm going to say, yeah. I think a part of the CEJA bill requires that guys that are returning from the penitentiary are included. Certainly, military, ex-military, and women. Women. My time in working with the VA. And going to different conventions, one of the things that we always found that the VA was really good at hitting their numbers in construction for minorities, except one area, and that's women in construction. It's the same thing in energy efficiency.
Yes.
Simply because the numbers are smaller, but because the numbers are smaller, a lot less women construction businesses don't know to get even to pursue this stuff. But getting into the incubator with ComEd is an excellent place to start because they can hit the ground running after getting into a program like that.
Well, we do want to encourage you to go to ComEd's website, which is ComEd.com, to learn more about these types of positions and these trainings. So the information is there and available, but again, you'll be able to find it on our webpage as well as our social media. You can find us on social media at Size Green Scene on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and we will be supplying that information for you. My next question for you, Mr. Hayes, is what are the growth areas you see in the future of green scene in Illinois?
Well, it amazes me that just in the regular energy efficiency programs, it appears the money is growing and growing and growing and growing. And I want to make this point also.
Please.
One of the things that's really good about it is that it's not dependent upon outside. Now, outside money from the government has been great, But I don't think most people realize that the energy efficiency programs are ratepayer funded.
Yes.
I don't, when you get your electric bill, a lot of people don't even pay attention to every line on their electric bill. But if you were to look at your electric bill, and that's a residence or business, there's a line item where you're paying into the energy efficiency programs. So it behooves you to use it, and that's for residential or businesses. We tell them that all the time. Most of the time, I mean, probably over the last 10 years, you've been paying into this program and haven't been taking advantage of it. You really should take advantage of it.
And so by taking advantage of it, especially for our businesses, because I'm going to speak to residential in just a moment, but for our businesses, which definitely don't know about the energy efficiency portion that they're eligible for, can you tell us a little bit about that and what that means in terms of what you do in Eco Energy Solutions and changing LEDs and lighting?
Well, first of all, when we approach businesses, we really love doing business with businesses. And that's because when you start talking energy efficiency compared to their savings and what it's going to cost them, they get it immediately because they're making decisions on their top line and bottom line revenue every day. So, and it's like the saying goes, an educated consumer is our best customer.
Absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, so with businesses, we approach them and we let them know, we give them a proposal that's on comment, a proposal paper, and after doing a free assessment, we show them actually quite a few things that people don't even think about. We show them how much carbon is being captured and saved. There's even a place on there that shows them with the carbon that you're taking out of the environment, how many trees could be planted.
And that's important. That's important for us who love the green.
But from a business standpoint, we talk to them about what your immediate savings would be, which can be substantial, because when you switch over from fluorescent or metal halide exterior fixtures, which are very non-energy efficient, you save a good 80% of your lighting bill. Now,
80%, that's a lot.
That's a lot, but just know this, and we explain this to them. Lighting is really not the biggest part of your energy
Consumption, no.
yeah, consumption for buildings. HVAC is really the biggest, but 80% of your lighting, because I've seen some people like buildings lighting bill, and I'm like, wow, that's a really big
In the thousands.
savings. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So once we talk about that, that's a really good thing because it's immediate. However, there's other things that's beneficial to a business. When we go in and either retrofit or change out your fixtures to new fixtures, depending on what way we decide to go with it, you're going to save on your maintenance. A lot of times in some of these places, they got these high ceilings. When you switch from fluorescent to LED, whether you retrofit or you put in new fixtures, you may then have to go back up there and change bulbs for 5, almost 10 years, depending on your usage of the system that we're putting in, which is huge, that a lot of people don't think about. Maintenance in itself can be huge for a building management company, and one of the things we find out is none of them have the type of, they don't have the size of crew needed to do most of this maintenance that they need. So we go in, we retrofit stuff, put in new stuff. They won't probably have to deal with it for another 5 years.
So let me ask you, what types of buildings, because I know at one point you were doing senior buildings. So what type of large buildings do you generally do?
All types. senior buildings,
Schools.
schools. For 1 year, we did all school districts, office buildings downtown, just any and even
Community
smaller,
organizations?
and even
Yeah.
smaller businesses. We do a lot of auto repair places and things of that nature.
We're winding down,
Okay.
and what I would like to do is I would like you to tell people how they can contact you.
We can be contacted at Eco Energy Solutions at 1-888-454-9984, or we can be contacted by email at rhayes@eco-e-solutions.com.
Well, we want to thank you so very much for coming on today and telling us what is the future of the energy scene in Illinois. We welcome you to come back as a guest anytime, and we hope that we've informed you about things that were very important to you. These are job opportunities as well as environmental opportunities for the communities that we live in. So we'd like to thank you for coming to Size Green Scene, and we look forward to seeing you on our next show.